Difficult women. Action.
And go.
And now we start talking
in a podcast form because this is
Difficult Women. Hello, I'm your host, Marie.
I'm your other host, Katy. You know I hate to say it like that.
Sorry.
It's so weird.
I'm your number one host, Katy and Marie.
And I'm just happened to come by today.
No. Together, we make Difficult Women podcast. We're also in a band called Reformed Whores. You can listen to us. Yeah, you should come see us. You should listen to us. You should watch our videos. You should be our boyfriends or girlfriends.
Oh my God, yeah, we could also use just regular friends. Whatever. Why not?
How are you?
I'm great.
Why are you great?
I don't know. I'm fine. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to announce something extremely special about Difficult Women podcast.
Oh, what is that? I think I know.
Ladies and gentlemen, hold your penises and vaginas. We have a sponsor.
We do. And it could not be a more perfect sponsor for us.
Honestly, when we started, we joked about this company sponsoring us. And then all of a sudden we got this random email saying, hey, would you like us to sponsor you? And we're like,
yes.
Oh my God. Thank you, Jesus Christ.
Dream come true. And that sponsor is AdamandEve.com.
Do you like sex?
I love sex, and I love sex toys.
Oh my God. Well, don't even get me started about my Satisfier.
You got your Satisfier. Back to that.
Guys, you've heard me talking about the Satisfier. It just sucks on your clit like Nikki Glazer's joke. It's like a barnacle. It's amazing.
Yeah. But
and
if you don't like that.
Yeah. You want a butt plug.
We got it at AdamandEve.com. You want
nipple,
some sort of sex swing.
Oh my God.
I bet you can get it at AdamandEve.com.
Would love to have a
I
swing.
would not mind that. I don't think I could fit it in my apartment.
I also don't think your roommates would appreciate that.
That we'd have fun on it. We had to take turns. So here's the thing about our special situation with AdamandEve.com. Mm-hmm. If you use the code HOREO, that's WHOREO at checkout, you get all sorts of stuff. What do they get, Marie?
I mean, I thought this was fake because I couldn't believe that if you pick, it's not every item, but most of the items, if you pick one item, you get 50% off that item.
Yes, almost any item
that they
available.
Have at AdamandEve.com. And then plus, you get free stuff.
More free stuff. All these things. There's 10 tantalizing free gifts. One of them is a sexy item for him. One's a special gift for her. And a third item for you both to enjoy.
Oh my God. And 6 free spicy movies.
I mean, that's awesome.
Movies.
You can enjoy that with the whole family.
Plus free shipping.
And here's the thing about free shipping. What a gift. Because shipping is so expensive now.
I know. I'm constantly canceling things that I order online because the shipping is more expensive than the actual thing. But with this, AdamandEve.com, it's free shipping. So you can get your Satisfier for half off plus 10 free items with using the promo code HOREO. That's HOREO, WHOREO.
Right at AdamandEve.com.
I mean, we've made it.
We have.
I actually told my mother that Adam and Eve was going to give us a promo code for our listeners. And she said, oh my gosh, Marie, this is so exciting. Like, this is so meant to be. You have made it.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's true.
Thanks, Mom.
That's really nice.
You know, and through the years, it hasn't been all, glory and everything. But this now we've made it in her eyes. So that's all that matters, really.
Go on over to AdamandEve.com. I know I will be perusing that website a lot.
I mean, half off.
That's really good. Anyway.
You're welcome, listeners.
Yeah, no joke.
And we said that the promo code should be HOREO because that's what we call our fans.
Right.
That's you.
That's me and you.
Yep, I'm a big fan of this.
Yeah, for sure. What else has been going on for you?
Just celebrating fall. I'm a basic bitch. I love a good pumpkin spice latte.
Do you know, I bought a pumpkin spice cider yesterday for shits and giggles.
Yeah, basic bitch.
Holy crap, I couldn't drink it.
Oh, yeah,
it was
sweet.
so sweet.
No.
I don't know what's happening. I mean, I love sweet things, but that was too much for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I heard there's a good pumpkin spice pod milk.
Oh, God. Jesus
but again, I don't really do the pumpkin spice
I
thing.
went to a friend's recently. She had a lavender pod milk, and I was like, get that fuck. It tasted like potpourri.
Oh,
we put it in my coffee. It's disgusting.
I'd be more into the lavender pod milk than the pumpkin spice.
Maybe soon we can get a pumpkin spice nut milk to be our sponsor.
Well, not if you're going to shit all over it. We won't.
I'm sorry. I'll take it back.
It's never going to happen. Here's another thing, though, that happened to me this morning that I just wanted to mention. You had brought this up to me, and I was sort of like, oh, cool, and I just didn't really look into it. But then I saw an article about the Highwomen.
Oh, yes, the Highwomen.
Which is the super group of
Brandy
country.
Yes.
Who's in it? Brandy
Carlisle, Marion Morris, Amanda Shires,
right,
and then I can never remember the fourth girl, which is so terrible.
I only know Brandy Carlisle, to be honest with you. And the other girl, they're all lovely singers. They're all wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really fully understand what the deal was with that band.
Mm-hmm.
But then the article kind of broke down what was going on there. And I have to tell you, it's basically our band.
Ugh, I know.
Honestly, because it's they were making the album because there was not enough women on the radio and country music radio, specifically country music. And they were trying to make songs that were within the format of these old timey country songs that men had done. It's a great idea. Really cool. Like one of the songs is a Brandy Carlisle song. It's about how this man is looking at her girlfriend and she's like, I love this woman and she loves me. And if we ever break up, she's not going to go to you. And it's like,
wow.
It's so good.
I love Brandy Carlisle.
Yeah,
she's amazing. Yeah.
And there's a song about being moms.
Being moms. Yeah.
That's
Designing
really cool.
women. That's a cool one. I mean, yeah, it's great.
It was neat, but it reminded me of us, honestly, because when we started.
Well, I've been trolling them. I write occasionally in their Instagrams. Can we open for you?
I mean, we would be
the best.
Perfect,
I know.
Honestly, except that
there's
they're
absolutely
not so dirty and stuff. But
yeah,
I mean,
they don't have any diversity if
dirty.
it's just all of us white bitches singing about equality and stuff.
There's not a lot of racial diversity in country music either. Period.
No,
so that's sort of another.
One thing that Brandy Carlisle just reposted on Instagram was that one of her fans was listening to one of her songs, and that Spotify, the algorithm, whatever, then suggested a man's song. Piggybacking onto her, saying like, well, if you like this song, you would like this song. And when the woman looked, it was like all men. And then she kept clicking through Spotify, and it wasn't until the 17th page did a woman show up on the playlist. Yeah. So Spotify too.
Yeah.
Is part of the problem.
I'm sure part of it is just like the music industry too. Just if there's mostly male singers, then those are going to be most of the people that pop up.
But why would a woman? I mean, like, there's something wrong with the algorithm if it's like
But why not Casey Musgraves or somebody?
Right.
That was another interesting point, was that they were saying that even with someone like Casey Musgraves, who's really blowing up in the country world, she's won like 4 Grammys or something. They don't play her on the radio.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and somebody made a comment about her, and she wrote back being like, "Yeah, they don't put me on the radio," but she's won 4 Grammys.
Right.
So, also, who listens to the radio anymore? I guess that's the other thing.
We do occasionally on tour when our phones...
When the CD doesn't work. Not CD player. When the CD player doesn't work, then we listen to the
when
radio.
we get that shitty-ass rental car that you can't plug your iPhones in.
Where did I go for a minute? My God.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. Yeah. I mean, everybody listen to the Highwomen. They're great.
It's interesting. I mean, just the concept. And then listen to us.
Yeah.
Because
listen to us,
we're
please.
the original Highwomen.
That's right, bitches.
Yeah.
All right, well, enough with that. Let's get into what we're going to talk about today.
We're just avoiding it.
So Katie texted me like, we have to do this. And, you texted me a couple weeks ago about sex robots. And I was like, yeah, okay, all right. That's a great idea. And then you followed it up with this one. And I was like, no, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But here we are. We're doing it.
We're doing it. So today we're talking about incels.
Incels.
Yay, so fun.
So fun.
So
Incels.
light and exciting.
Yeah. What is an incel?
An incel means involuntary celibate, which means that there are these groups of guys online that are sharing their experiences or their feelings about being, they think that they're either ugly or they have some sort of social thing that's preventing them from meeting and connecting and having sex with, specifically women. And they form these online communities where they can, well, bash women and in theory, relate with each other, but it's turned pretty ugly.
Well, because where I heard the word incel and where we constantly keep hearing it in the media is after a mass shooting.
Right.
Or, there's been definitely several cases, and I don't want to say these people's names on our podcast. But the media will immediately say, like, this person was an incel and he had a manifesto. And the guy in California that shot up the university, he had this huge manifesto. And then people in the incel community were then praising him.
Right. And so this is how we've begun to learn about this community, right? Us as like your average Americans.
And this is why I did not want to talk about this, because this is a comedy, feminist,
it's a funny
podcast, and here we're talking about domestic terrorists.
Right. But I will say, part of the reason why it is relevant to us in this podcast is...
We're women.
Well, yes.
Okay.
Did you know?
Nope. Who am I?
I was going to say the reason why it's relevant to us and any women out there listening is that it's almost like, I almost see it as like the flip side of feminism and female liberation. It's like the dark, not repercussions, but a backlash to our autonomy. Because a lot of these guys believe that they deserve just by merit of being a man, they deserve to have sex with women.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's their natural right to control.
And I'm fascinated by this. The reason why I want to talk about it was because, number one, I'm so scared of this notion and that kind of misogyny.
Why not just...
So let's just face it head on.
Okay.
And I'm also fascinated by it because what is going on there?
Mm-hmm.
Why do they think that? Why do these boys who feel ugly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just going, oh God, maybe I should brush my teeth more often or something.
Wash my face.
Right, wash my face. Or like, be nice to a girl. Why do I feel like automatically they just deserve to be loved or fucked by a woman?
Well, a lot of these men and first off, they're mostly under 25. They're all very young. And I found some statistics. Over 66% said they were under 25. Almost 2/3 said they don't have any real friends. And half said that they've considered plastic surgery.
Right. I guess to be more attractive.
Right.
Too.
And then a lot of them have said that they get bullied, but bullied by women.
I don't know what their experience is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's certainly, we know, first of all, these young people, we know it's hard in high school, period. Right? People are mean to each other, period. I'm sure there's like mean girls that are mean to these boys. I know that exists. That's definitely a real thing. So if that's maybe all you're experiencing from women, that then there's like this hatred that builds. One thing that I found really interesting, there was like a Vice documentary that was following around this incel. And when he said something along the lines of, all women can have sex anytime they want. And all women are, and when the documentarian, who was a woman, was like pushing back on him. I know what it was. He says that women have sex with like hundreds of men all the time. And she was like, "What?" She's like, "What do you mean? Like, what? Why do you think?
Where did you get your information?"
Yeah, exactly. And when she sort of pushed back on him, he got very he was bristling. He's like, "Well, you don't know women that are in like 19, 20 years old right now." And so there is this notion floating around this group of men that women are this. First of all, that they're one way. Mm-hmm. That there's only one kind of woman, which is weird. And then number two, that like they're just banging every bro out there or something, that women are having insane amounts of sex, and then these guys are having zero sex.
Do you think they're getting this information online just
from each other?
Right.
It's like
they're just
Fox News.
Right.
Those people, they're just like insulated.
Well, it's crazy. These people do not go outside. I mean, these are the trolls. We've definitely gotten so many of these comments. We get these random, as you guys know, troll time. We get these random comments from people. And I just envision this person like in their parents' basement in a dark room who hasn't gone outside, that is just trolling women,
right?
Specifically to make them feel bad. And that's their job. That's
and they're
their number one job.
Angry.
So angry.
So angry. Mm-hmm. So like one of the giant, what were you going to say?
Well, I'm just curious. So where do you think this anger comes from? Yeah.
I mean, one thing that's interesting is that it's coming alongside the rise of women's rights, right? So as women get more and more powerful, they're feeling their power, like they're losing their power. And in fact, like there are statistics that show that young women are doing better and better in schools and applying to colleges at higher rates. And as those rates are going up, the male rates are like plummeting. So there's something legitimately like happening here, but it's like a weird social, psychological something, you know.
Okay, bear with me.
Yes.
When was it where we thought the world was going to end? It was like May
2000 or something?
Yeah.
Y2K,
May 20. Yeah. No, it wasn't Y2K.
Oh,
it was like a whole
Amazon,
other. The Mayan.
Mayan calendar.
Yes, the Mayan calendar. I think it was 2002 or something like that. May 21st. I can't remember the exact date. Write us. Difficult one.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Mayans had predicted that the world was going to end on this particular date. And I remember, like, I was at happy hour and we were like, is it now? Is it gonna happen?
Oh my God. I was probably under my bed.
You probably were. You probably were. I was like looking at the sky like, come, take me. But a lot of theorists or a lot of, what are they called?
The philosophers?
A lot of philosophers.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that it? I don't know.
A lot of philosophers actually have said that the Mayans didn't say the world was going to end. It was actually the world was going to flip and change, and the rise of women will happen.
Right.
Hence this, henceforth,
right,
the rise of women. And I tell you, has there not been a rise of women since like 2002?
For sure. No, I mean, you know.
So I think those Mayans were right. Yeah. And I think that is exactly what's happening is that women are on the rise. We're getting better, you know, we're getting our education on, we're getting better jobs. We're not needing, husbands or everything that we have known in the past.
Right. And retaking control of our bodies.
Yes.
And that I think is the thing that's specifically threatening to incels. Because, I mean, not that it was such a free-for-all before where people are just like grabbing women and banging them on the street. It wasn't like that. Right. But there was certainly a notion where women were much more like giving in to sexual advances. And there was much more a clear line of like women stay at home and they get married and men go out and work and all that and they run the household. And that's shifting. That is definitely shifting.
Right. Well, one thing that I came across is that some of these incels they have police records for groping and stalking women.
Oh, interesting.
So they actually go outside and grope women,
feel entitled.
But they feel as though that women belong to them,
right.
And it is their absolute right to touch them and to have ownership over them, which is just, I mean, it's 2019. They must be absolutely terrified at this point.
I'm
because
sure.
Everything that they thought as a man. I mean, we have raised our men to believe that they can't have feelings, they can't cry,
right,
they have to be a man.
Right.
But then us feminists all of a sudden are saying one thing and then something else. I mean, we can't.
We're shifting those notions. I think that is definitely a threatening.
It's very confusing,
and it's confusing, and especially
these young gentlemen.
Yes. And this generation specifically, I think, is going to get the brunt of it.
And because of technology, they're able to just go into the dark web.
So that's the other thing I read was that not only is the technology isolating, right? Because they're just in that Vice documentary too. The guy was saying, I feel more like myself when I'm alone in my room online than I do when I'm out in the world. When I'm out in the world, I feel like I'm playing a video game. And when I'm at home talking to these incel people, I feel like myself. And I think that that's part of the problem, which is like this whole technology thing where we're isolating ourselves. But in addition to that, a thing I read that was interesting is that it is the it is the Instagram conundrum culture thing where everyone's life seems better on the outside, you know, than in the inside, times a million. Because it's like what I was saying with these girls nowadays, they're having sex with hundreds of boys. That's not true. It just maybe looks like that on their Instagram posts because they're also insecure and they're trying to attract boys and they don't know what they're doing because they're just kids too. And so they're posting these sexy pictures or they're, you know, talking about whatever. But I doubt very much that the majority of 20-year-olds in this country right now have had sex with 100 boys. You know what I mean? I just really don't think that that's the norm, you know?
Well, one journalist asked an incel on like 60 Minutes or something, and like, what do you really want? And the guy, this young kid was like, I just want a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then the journalist was like, well, what would you do to your girlfriend? And he was like, just hug and kiss her. It's like, oh my God.
So, but how, like, I remember being in high school and feeling specifically like my parents were divorced. So my mom was like going on dates and stuff. And I was so like annoyed by that because I was 15 and I felt like I should be going on dates. But I didn't really date that much. It wasn't that easy. I don't know. I was shy and I did have eventually I had a boyfriend in like when I was about 15 and then I had another boyfriend when I was like 17. But it wasn't, I think you had more like boyfriends when you were in school. I didn't have that. So I had a lot of like loneliness and a lot of my diary entries are like, why can't I find a boyfriend? There was so much about like boys and whatever. So I don't want to say I relate to incels, but I relate to that loneliness is painful.
Well, I imagine. So would you have turned to the dark web?
So I don't know. I mean, I think because I'm a woman, and that's another thing, but it's that incel community, and I read an article about this too, how it's not welcoming to women incels, femcels as they call them.
Femcels? Ooh, that sounds like a cool band name.
Sounds like a robot.
Yeah.
That sounds like a sex robot. So what I was going to kind of lead to is that I think that the impetus for trying to find a community of people that relate to your feelings is not an unhealthy one, right? And so that there are these women out there too.
Join clubs and do things.
And you want to
find people with things in common.
Yeah, and also if you're not
healthy.
sure if you feel normal or not, and then you have all these people being like, "Oh, I feel that way too." That's nice in theory. And these female incels are struggling too to make connections with the opposite sex, or not even the opposite sex, but making connections with people.
Do the femcells get in communities online with just other women, or are femcells trying to get in with the men?
They've been trying to get in with the men. I'm sure there must be some communities of just women, but there's some specific women that are trying to kind of get in with the male communities. I think part of the thing is it feels shameful to not be able to connect with people. So it's hard for people to talk about it too, on top of all this. But I think that the other thing that's worth mentioning is that some of these kids are kind of like regular kids that are struggling to be social and are kind of maybe nerdy or, awkward or maybe not that attractive or all those things. But some people have it is a legitimate problem for some people where like this one woman they were talking to, she has a genetic disorder where she legitimately does not look very attractive and has a really hard time meeting people as a result. So it is a legitimate thing that's hard to get through when you're feeling lonely, but the internet has made it into this crazy.
We're going into the worst of humanity. I feel after the sex robot episode and now this. But seriously, it's like if you have these like serious issues. So like obviously these young men, and they're young, are suffering from depression and loneliness. And instead, like, what's the cure to that? Get out and fucking go roller skating, or like go out and like join a kayaking club or something. But instead of doing that nowadays, we turn into the computer for our friends. And the thing that's crazy about these incels is they're all anonymous. It's not like you're making your best friend and you know his name, like where he lives, and like we can all go physically hang out together, go bowling and drink beer. Like what we did in high school. Sure. These people just get online and then they start just like...
Well, and they weirdly there's so much self-hatred with these incels too. We see a lot of the outside hatred, right? With the misogyny and stuff, and they try to put it on women, and women are whores and women are horrible and like they'll never sleep with me and like I hate them and I hate women and feminists suck and all that stuff. But really what's also happening there is so much self-hatred. And if you think about it, I mean... teens as a community of people tend to be kind of insecure and self-hating and
God.
struggling with so many issues anyway. So then these particular kids, being also kind of like outcasts for various reasons, have then found this community online that's not just like, hey buddy, I feel for you, I'm sorry you're feeling that way. It's more like, yeah, you are ugly. It's like, can you rate my picture? Oh yeah, you're hideous. Oh
my gosh.
That's why women don't like you. Your chin is weak. You're, feminine looking.
Right. They just add fuel to the fire.
So it again, this Vice documentary that I was watching, they were talking about how, there was one kid on the video while she was there. One of the kids that they were Skyping with or whatever, it's not called Skyping, but internet connecting with, I'm so excited, old lady, was this boy. And then he knows that the documentarian is there and they know it's a woman and they're kind of saying this fucking bitch, this Vice bitch, and they're being really mean to her. And the kid is sort of like, yeah, this is how we talk, And then this one kid pulls down his pants and he shits on the floor.
Wait, what? Yeah. Oh no. You can do that on the internet all you want. Do the poopy emoji all you want. But the second you take a shit on my floor.
Right. But what's going on in that person, right? They must be
Wait.
So
during the interview?
It wasn't the kid. It was a guy that they were Skyping with.
Oh, okay.
So one of these anonymous people, sort of in a way,
was
right?
just shitting on. Okay.
Yeah, and it's sort of a way, I think, and that apparently was one of his antics that he always was like participate. He'd always like pull his pants down and shit on the floor, and they'd kind of laugh at him and they'd kind of egg him on.
Oh boys.
And it was their thing. And boys.
Oh boys.
He killed himself a couple weeks later.
Well,
and that the suicide rates are really high within these communities.
Because he's lonely and he wants people to see him.
Totally.
And that's the thing I think that these incels feel is that they're invisible. Right. So that's why they're anonymous and going into these places and wanting attention. And that's why these, I hate talking about these mass murderers, but they want attention. Right. Because they don't have it at all.
Right. And also this kid that was being interviewed, he was saying like, look, the majority of us are very meek people. We're not actually going to go out and kill anybody.
And very well spoken. That's one journalist was like, I mean, if you go on there,
very literate.
Very, yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of times maybe they're
writers.
bookworms and things, you know what I mean, that haven't been able to socialize so much.
Right.
Oh, but again, not some of these things are certainly similar deals that we had to deal with growing up. Bullying and that kind of thing. But again, the internet compounds it. And then again, the comparing yourself to other people online is so poisonous.
So poisonous. We all got to just get off the internet and go jump rope.
Right.
Everybody go. There you go. Rope. I figured it out. I solved it.
Marie's fixed it.
I fixed it for you
guys.
Let's
get on to Reddit and just like tell them like, hey guys, we have a solution.
We have a solution, you guys.
Jump rope.
You fucking bitch. That's what they'd say.
Oh my God.
Well, I have a question to lighten it up. So all these people, incels, have like really, really cool names.
Cool names or just names?
I don't know.
What was an incel name? Do you remember?
It was like Mechanic 77, and they were like, oh, "Do you work on cars?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "Okay, all right." But did you have a screen name when you were younger? AOL chat.
This is sort of sad. I really wanted to pick a screen name. I was like really had thought about it before I got on the internet. I really wanted it. And then my dad set up the internet and it was just Catherine Frame.
Oh, he set up your chat name?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and Dad. It was like such a sad thing.
Catherine Frame.
Yeah.
Doesn't your father know you're not supposed to use your real name during the chat?
I guess not.
Wow.
But I don't think he expected me to chat with anybody.
I think that Did you get in the chats?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I think I'm wrong. I don't think it was Catherine Frame. It was Frame KA, which is still bad because my name is still in it. Frame K.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Frame K.
And then later it became Catherine Frame, which is a shitty name. What was yours?
Midchild 3.
Oh.
Genius.
Yeah. So you got to pick your own?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, see, these kids today, they have so much autonomy. They can pick their own screen names. I wasn't allowed to do that.
Wow, we're just...
They were privileged. No, just kidding.
But we're giving them a space. I mean, but here's a question. It's like, the mass shooter, right before he went and did what he did, he had posted Facebook, YouTube, like they post all these things on there. But like, why aren't we surveying this sort of stuff more carefully? Or
I mean, I think they're starting to now. I think he really took people by surprise. I think he was a little bit more on the early end with those kinds of things and sort of started that. The surveying, sure, and I think that
I know Reddit took down.
Yeah, Reddit doesn't. That whole Reddit posting page or whatever for the
gone.
incels is totally gone. But there's other places that like 4chan and stuff that are not as they don't
4chan,
care about that stuff. But so here's the thing about it for me is as I was looking into this, I've been like dying to find an answer to this. Like, well, why? Like, why? And is it just, and a lot of the articles are very much angled from the perspective of saying like, well, these guys don't even want sex. They just want full male, white male, specifically domination. That to them, that's the only thing that's acceptable. Right. Cool. You can look at it that way for sure. I totally understand that argument. But even as I'm sitting here thinking about it and as we've been talking about it, these are kids. You know what I mean? These are like young boys. So that's putting like a lot, even if that is what they want, they're not just like coming up with that. Like they're getting that from
where
somewhere.
is that coming from?
Their anger is coming like from somewhere, right? And so there is this TED Talk that we both watched. Dr. Warren Farrell.
He doesn't spell it like Farrell.
Okay.
So it could be
Farrell.
maybe Farrell. Or
Perfect.
it would be really cool if it was Dr. Farrell.
Why?
Because Farrell, I love Farrell. The musician?
Oh. I see.
I don't know. I don't really know. Let me just
I was
dumb
trying to
it.
make a connection to like an incel thing.
Oh,
if it was Dr. Incel, that would be a whole other interesting.
That would be. So we watched this TED Talk. No,
Yeah.
Dr. Warren Farrell.
And he is a feminist. He's very much a feminist. He kind of came up with, was involved with Gloria Steinem in the 60s and 70s feminism. But he is a huge advocate and studier of this boy problem we're having right now.
Men's rights.
Men's rights and like making sure we're looking at what's going on with these boys as the like Me Too movement is happening and as the rise of feminism is happening. How does that affect like the boys?
And he has a book called Boy Crisis.
Yes, Boy Crisis. Yes, and I would love to sit down and talk with this man because I have many questions, and I don't necessarily fall in line with everything that he has to say. But this sort of notion that we are when we're talking about like gender studies, for example, nowadays, gender studies is now really only about looking at like women's rights and women's issues and gay rights and LGBTQ communities, but they don't have like a men's rights class. And it does. We don't talk about how society, in the society we're living in,
the patriarchy
is also
too,
affecting boys. On a side note, I watched another video of his, and he claims that the patriarchy doesn't exist, to which I wanted to fight him.
Would you lead with that if he was right here?
I like really was looking up his email address before I got here because I wanted to write him an email being like, please explain.
Why did he say that the patriarchy doesn't exist?
They were saying it's like a mythological thing, and that actually women don't have any power and men don't have any power. And I don't know who has the power then, but like that was sort of their argument. But then he said, this is what blew me away. He was like, if there was a patriarchy, then men would just say that they could sleep with anybody they wanted to. Like any woman should just give in to them. And I was like, but that is what's happening.
That is what they're saying,
like,
my friend.
And then he said, and he's like, and if there was a patriarchy, if it was real, then men would expect like 13-year-old girls to just like want to have sex with him, and that would be fine. I was like,
Jeffrey
Epstein just did that, and he got away with it for
forever.
3 decades.
Yeah.
So I do think that this guy's a little bit disconnected from reality to some degree, but the parts that I do agree with, and I think that we have to make sure we're also kind of aware of this, and I have lots of thoughts about this, is that this society that we've had, which I think is a patriarchy, has negatively affected the boys too. And you were just saying, like, they're not allowed to have feelings. They're not allowed to feel like there's a lot of pressure for them to be strong men.
Yeah,
and be
man
on a
up.
football team. Man
up.
up. Don't cry. He was talking to in a different thing about how like we expect like it's okay and it's expected for a man to like go play football and then maybe get concussed and possibly die of like a horrible brain hemorrhage. And that is like being a man. And so anybody that doesn't really like fit that, they feel like they don't fit in and they don't feel like they have a space to,
or they're not masculine or
they're not masculine enough. And that, I don't know. And that think of all those feelings that these incels have, right? They have all these feelings and they don't know how to like direct them.
Right. Because society is telling them don't feel.
Right. And they're saying that you're not allowed to cry. And also if you cry, then you're like less than, and then you take it out on other people.
Mm. And that's why this is so important that we're talking about it, is because with our podcast, we're trying to, we are feminists and we're trying to, speak to women, but also we have to show this other side, like you're saying.
And also, if we don't have healthy men, women are not safe.
Right.
Women can't be fully healthy if the men in our society aren't healthy. So like, we got to take care of these boys. We got to take care of these kids that are coming up. We got to take care of the men in our lives too.
It's curious, like, sorry to interrupt. No. I think about this constantly, and I've been talking to my younger sister about this because she's raising 2 twin boys. I mean, they're only 9 months old right now, but like, I want to send her this TED Talk about how important it is. So what he goes into too is how important the father figure is with these men. And that, what was the crazy statistic he said? 26 out of 27 of these mass shooters
that have shot more than 8 people, 8 or more,
were fatherless.
Right. So, and that almost 100% of people in ISIS were fatherless, boys and girls that had joined ISIS.
I feel like we don't talk about like the effects of not having a father figure. I feel like we talk maybe about, it's not even, we talk about like not having a father, but it's like a single mother. We praise a single mother. We talk how great a mom and how she does all this stuff to make ends meet. And then I actually have heard, some younger kids like succeed because they have a strong mom figure that's like leading them to college and doing, and working all these jobs at the same time. But we don't talk about like what happens to these young people when there isn't a father present.
Right. And the guy does talk about in the TED Talk that there is a kind of parenting that the father brings to the family that is really important to setting boundaries and to being good role models, and that it creates more empathy, believe it or not. Because people say, oh, men don't have empathy. But they do. They're humans too. And
he talks how important family dinners are.
Family dinners. And I think one thing that's hard is like, well, what are the reasons why the father's not around? Mm-hmm. One is that sometimes men get women pregnant and then they leave. Mm-hmm. That's a reality. Mm-hmm. One is that he was kind of putting a lot of the blame on how women are more autonomous and that divorce is more acceptable now. Mm. So that also, when there's a divorce, the woman tends to get main custody, and then sometimes the dad just isn't really like around anymore. So that's a very real thing that happens. Mm-hmm. But I guess I would like to think that his speech was also kind of directed at men stepping up and saying like, okay, because I think he's sort of saying too that like, well, society doesn't leave room for the men to come in and be fathers. And that's true. But, and that is true. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, individuals can step up and be present and, really fight for custody with their kids and fight. And I don't want to say fight, because that feels like so, you don't want the tension in the family either. Because he also gave some advice about being like, if you are in a divorced situation, you should get equal custody. So it should be 50-50 time spent with mom and dad. Mm-hmm. That you should not live more than 20 minutes away from each other, so it's easy to like be around each other. Mm-hmm. And that also you shouldn't speak badly of your spouse. Especially like so women. Important. Nobody should speak badly of their spouse, but especially I feel sometimes like the wives speak more badly about the husbands. But sometimes it's because they're not around,
right?
And they're mad, you know. So I think that there are these like it's so easy for like the feminists, like liberal feminists right now to just be like, men are scum and they don't get it. And they have all this like male entitlement and this male, what is that word?
Testosterone?
No.
Male supremacy?
No, but what is it called when like I have a benefit over somebody else because I'm white? And then privilege. That there's all this male privilege. But like it doesn't, if you're being told over and over again, like, well, you have male privilege, that's silencing individuals. So like the boys aren't allowed to talk because the women are saying like, oh, you have all this privilege, like shut up. It's our turn to talk. Right. Which I don't disagree with to some degree either.
Well, he put it where he was explaining when a young man has like, sees a beautiful young woman and is like, I could never be with her. She's too, at a higher level and can't get there. Like, how then as a man, they go internally to say like, okay, well, I need to like, get a better job to make more money so I could take her out, take her to a nice thing. It's like, I've never thought about that from a man's point of view of how much pressure that is for a man.
Yeah. And how much, and I think that that's another good point he makes is that in the home, we've talked a lot about how women have a lot of pressure. They've had pressures at home and all that stuff. And, that sort of feminist women's lib stuff. But they never talk about how men also sacrifice for their families by working.
Right. Really, they make so many sacrifices. Yeah.
And that he had this crazy story. So I'm going to keep this brief. But he had this story about how he was at a party in, probably it would have been in like 1978, maybe 1978 or so. Mm-hmm. And Gloria Steinem was at the party and he was like trying to go talk to her because they're buddies or whatever. And before he can get over to her, this guy comes up and starts talking to him and say, hey, you're the guy that started all the men's groups and things, because he'd been starting these men's groups for men to get together and have a place to communicate with each other and share their feelings and share their experiences. So this man was like, I just want you to know that you like changed my life. These men's groups really made a huge difference to me. And they were debating stuff and they ended up talking for like an hour. And he said, well, what's like your greatest regret, or where's your biggest hole in your heart and in your life? He said, my biggest regret is that I had a son with my ex-wife, and I was working all the time and I didn't put any time into this boy. And like, how is that going to affect him? Mm-hmm. And I was off, and my job required me to travel a lot, and I would travel and I would have affairs while I was on the road, and it ruined my relationship with my wife. And we eventually got divorced, and I'm just not in his life at all at this point. He's like, and it tortures me that I have that. And he said, but I have another son coming, or I don't know if he was coming or he'd just been born, or his son was coming. And he was like, and I'm having so much anxiety around it because am I going to do the same thing? Like, how do I deal with this new son? And so the guy from the TED Talk was like, well, what would you like to do? And he was like, well, honestly, I would like to quit work and be with my son for 5 years. I want to give him 5 years before he goes to school and be like a dad. He's like, I don't feel like I'm allowed to do that. I don't have space in my life to do that. Wow. And the guy said, right. I mean, but I think that that's a real thing, that like women are allowed to stay home, and like, and now women are allowed to work. So they have the options, but the men don't have the option. The men are supposed to stay at work and work and work. And they're not, it's not cool for them to like not work. So the guy said to him, he's like, well, have you asked your wife about it? And he said, no, I haven't talked to her about it. He's like, go talk to your wife about it. Go see like what she has to say about this. I guess in the men's groups he was talking about this. So the guy is telling the story about how then he went to his wife and said, hey, I have this thought. What if I stay home for 5 years and not work at all? Like what happens then? And the woman said, that would be incredible. It would be incredible for you to be able to be like a dad, like for real. And so it was 2 years in at this point when he had met the TED Talk guy and said like, hey, like this changed my life. And so I did all the things that we had discussed. And he's like, how's it going? He's going great. And I'm really happy. And I'm so glad I did all this. And then something came up. Oh, and he said, someone came up and asked for an autograph. And the TED Talk guy was like, oh, sure, I'll give an autograph. And then the guy was sort of like, I meant him. And he was like, oh, sorry. And he's like, so yeah, you give the autograph. And he was like, are you famous? And the guy was like, I'm John Lennon.
Oh my God.
So that was that story. And then he was like, aren't you in a band? And she was like, yeah. But
what
that, like,
the
so the point.
Oh my God.
Right.
Wow.
And that like, we think of this job, and his point was that like, we think of his job as being the ideal job.
John Lennon's
job. Yeah, just being
right.
like the superstar and having everything you'd ever want. And he said also during the course of that conversation that John Lennon said, I just wish people knew how much stress I go through too in my job, and how much I feel so much pressure to keep working so that I can keep that level of income coming in for my family and all these things. And also that like I have so much self-doubt, and I never know if this is the time that the project's going to fail. And like, it's really, really stressful too. So even like the most, freeing jobs.
What an incredible story.
Yeah. And that everybody goes through these things. And the truth is, like, I mean, I don't know what Julian Lennon's situation is now, but like definitely Sean Lennon got the better end of that stick. That was pretty obvious. And even though he only had his dad for 5 years, his dad was present in his life. Anyway.
Wow.
That was a crazy story.
Sean Lennon.
Who we've met.
Yeah.
Lovely guy. And Yoko Ono, who we've kind of met, and he even said, he was like, Yoko Ono was such a great example of a wife that was supportive of her husband's needs also. And I'm not saying husband's needs like the way like feminist, but husband's needs is like trying to break down some of these barriers that we have where it's like, no, the man goes to work, and if you don't work and bring home that money, then I'm divorcing you. And saying like, we need to make more room for dads in our lives, period.
Well, speaking of which, I talked to my friend Ellen, who lives in Sweden recently, and she said that, so she gets 18 months maternity, paternity. We've talked about it on the pod. So she got a brand new job at this really awesome place, and so she's going to work, and then he's going to be taking 6 months off to stay home with their 3 girls. That. And the full family is so excited. She's excited about her brand new job that she's going to quickly rise up the ladder, and then he's super excited to be staying home with the kids.
And it's going to be so good for the girls.
Right, and it's going to be so great for the girls. Good. And I don't know, there's so much work to be doing. And that's why it's so great that we can have this podcast to just talk about it, because it's not just about the women's experience. We need to be talking about the man's experience. And I mean, maybe further down the line, we can have a man on the podcast to actually talk about incels and like all this sort of stuff, because it would be good to have their point of view as well.
And how they fit into this whole like Me Too movement, and not just, the shame that comes with that. And like that, if the narrative right now is that like all men are evil, where do regular men fit in? Just not even incels, just like a regular guy, Right. Where does he fit into this? So I don't know. And I've had some conversations with some guy friends recently where they're like, they'll see a posting or a joke from a woman, and it'll be like, sort of like, future is female and women are taking over, like, better watch out, guys, or whatever. And it probably scares them a little bit too, but there's also a sense of like, wait, I thought you wanted equality, not supremacy. And my response was like, yes, I think that equality is really the thing. But number one, we're not there yet.
We're not there yet. And we have to celebrate the small wins.
Exactly. And we're angry.
Yeah.
So that's the balance, because I don't think what we're saying today is not that like, let's stop our own self-praise and let's focus on the men, because we don't need to do that. But it is worth noting that like, when maybe you can catch yourself next time you're saying like, kill all men. But like, that might not be helpful to anybody.
Right.
Because I think that the real goal is equality. It's not women taking over. I don't think that's the balance.
We don't want the Mayans.
Not all the way to the Mayans.
Yeah, we don't want the women to be ruling the earth.
I mean, that might be interesting. Cool, I wouldn't mind seeing what that was like. But
let's start with a female president. How about that?
Yeah, and president. And you know what? A female president doesn't mean that we're ruling the earth. It means we're moving toward equality. Because guess what? We've never had a female president.
It's gonna be 2020, and I mean,
we'll see what happens.
Fingers crossed. Who knows? Who knows?
But I mean that's where I think that we also have to remember that. And the boys, you said something really interesting earlier.
I did.
Do you remember what it was? I remember.
Dr. Farrell?
No. Okay. You had made a really good point earlier today, but not on the podcast, but just to me about empathy.
Oh yeah. Well, I was reading that women will dissect this issue and like trying to understand men and why these incels exist and what possibly in society has created them, but men would never empathize with the women's plight.
Right, and it's taken like, here we are. You know what I mean? The proof is in the pudding, because for years and years and years, men, we don't even know how our bodies work, because men doctors weren't interested in that. So it is interesting. Yeah. So it is interesting how it's not really.
It's great being a woman. What can I say?
We're very lovely beings.
We are. And you know what? So are men.
Yes. And let's encourage more men to that empathy is not a female trait and a feminine trait. Because that's
compassion.
That's not feminine. That's that's a human trait. And we have to allow men to be empathetic and teach them how to be empathetic.
Well, both men and women listening, you know what you should do? Go to adamandeve.com and use the promo code HORIO to get 50% off one item.
Join us on Patreon. We're on Patreon under Reformed Horrors. If you'd like to subscribe to us, we have all these fun goodies that we dole out as the months go along. Things that are exclusive to our Patreon listeners. It's a fun way to support us and also see what we've been up to.
That's right. Well, I'm glad that we had this I was nervous getting into incels, but I think that we kind of
hit some interesting
over
points. We didn't hit all of it because there's so much. But send us an email if any of this resonated with you or if you disagree with anything at difficultwomanpodcast@gmail.com.
Now play us away, Katy and Marie.
Okay.
When we were young, we learned two things. Girls had beans and boys ding-a-lings. Guess Freud is right about penis envy. I wish you could take yours off and lend it to me, cause if I had a willy for just a day, I'd be standing up and spray all over the place. Put it in a sock and jerk off, slap it hard across your face.
Don't get me wrong, I'm proud to be a woman. Just sometimes I wonder what it's like to have a dong. Does it hurt to ride a bike? Does it hurt to wear a thong? Can you play it like a flute while singing along?
If I had a willy for just a day, I'd whip it out riding on the subway. Measure its length and compare it to his. If we cross swords, I'd shoot him with my jizz. Whoa, Katy, are you shooting your jizz all over our guitar player right there?
Why, yes I am. It's full of proteins.